What if some of the most powerful foods for improving insulin sensitivity aren't sold in health food stores, aren't prescribed by doctors, and are probably growing in your backyard right now? What if the solution to the modern epidemic of metabolic disease isn't locked behind a pharmacy counter, but is instead thriving in the cracks of your sidewalk, along the edge of your garden, and in the vacant lot down the street? For decades, most people have been taught that managing blood sugar starts and ends with medications, expensive supplements, or highly engineered diet plans that strip the joy out of eating. We've been conditioned to believe that if it grows wild, it must be dangerous, and if it's free, it can't be valuable. But what if the exact opposite is true? What if many of the answers to our most pressing health crises were hiding in plain sight among the very weeds our grandparents and great-grandparents used to recognize and harvest with the same familiarity we now reserve for grocery store produce? Stick around, because number 7 on this list contains compounds that researchers have compared to some of the most studied blood sugar-supporting plant chemicals ever identified, rivaling the potency of pharmaceutical interventions in their mechanism of action. And number 18 was used for centuries across Europe as a spring tonic long before scientists discovered its remarkable effects on glucose metabolism, a practice that kept our ancestors vibrant and resilient through the coldest months. Hit that subscribe button right now, because every week we connect cutting-edge nutrition science with the foods your body was designed to thrive on. We are bridging the gap between the wisdom of the past and the evidence of the present. Let's get into it. Here are 20 backyard weeds that destroy insulin resistance, ranked from remarkable to absolutely extraordinary. Ancient Mediterranean cultures and later European herbal traditions used dandelion roots and leaves as seasonal cleansing foods. They understood something instinctively that modern science is only now beginning to quantify. Farmers consumed them every spring without understanding the complex chemistry involved, but they understood the feeling, the increased vitality, the improved digestion, and the lightness that came after a long winter of heavy foods. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Dandelion contains a powerhouse of compounds. Inulin, a prebiotic fiber that doesn't spike blood sugar, chlorogenic acid, which helps slow carbohydrate absorption, and a host of polyphenols that reduce systemic inflammation. Research published in Nutrients and other peer-reviewed journals has highlighted inulin's profound role in improving insulin sensitivity and metabolic function. Inulin feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut, and a healthy gut microbiome is now understood to be the cornerstone of metabolic health. When your gut flora is balanced, inflammation drops, and your cells become more receptive to insulin signals. Here's the traditional use. Harvest young leaves in early spring before they become too bitter, add them to salads, or sauté them with garlic. The root, harvested in the fall when it's richest in inulin, can be roasted, ground, and used as a coffee-like beverage that supports blood sugar regulation without the caffeine jitters. Avoid heavily sprayed urban plants and always wash them thoroughly. Dandelion got forgotten by mainstream nutrition because it cannot be patented, and industrial agriculture classified it as a nuisance to be eradicated with herbicides. There is no financial incentive to study a weed that grows everywhere for free, but dandelion doesn't care about profit margins. It still offers what it offered for thousands of years, a safe, effective, and accessible ally for metabolic health. Ancient Greeks and people throughout the Middle East gathered purslane as a staple summer green. It grew freely in gardens and pathways, and its succulent leaves were a sign of vitality and hydration during the sweltering heat. It was considered a cooling, nourishing food. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Purslane is one of the richest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, an essential omega-3 fatty acid. It also contains betalains, powerful antioxidants that protect cells from the oxidative damage that drives insulin resistance. This combination is rare in land plants, making purslane a nutritional anomaly. Studies in the Journal of Medicinal Food have reported meaningful improvements in glucose markers among regular consumers, likely due to its ability to calm inflammation at the cellular level. Omega-3s are the building blocks of cell membranes, and when your cell membranes are fluid and healthy, insulin receptors function much more efficiently. Here's the traditional use. Eat fresh leaves in salads, add them to smoothies, or lightly sauté them to preserve the nutrient density. It has a mild, slightly tangy flavor that pairs well with citrus dressings. Choose tender growth and avoid wilted plants, as they can become bitter. Purslane got forgotten because industrial food systems favored commercial vegetables, with longer shelf life and higher yields. It pops up in gardens and is often yanked out as a weed, but purslane doesn't need to be shipped across the country. It still offers what it offered since antiquity, a simple, free source of brain-healthy fats and blood sugar stability. Across Europe and early America, plantain, not the banana-like fruit, but the broadleaf weed, was known as the waybread because it followed human settlements everywhere. It thrived in compacted soil and along footpaths, making it accessible to everyone, rich or poor. Traditional healers relied on it extensively as a poultice for wounds and as a tea for internal inflammation. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Plantain contains aucubin, a potent anti-inflammatory compound, along with flavonoids and high amounts of soluble fiber. Soluble fiber is crucial because it forms a gel in the digestive tract, slowing the absorption of sugar and preventing the rapid spikes that stress insulin production. Research has documented its metabolic and antioxidant effects, showing that it helps moderate the inflammatory response associated with insulin resistance. The systemic inflammation often linked to a poor diet can be tempered by the compounds found in this humble weed. Here's the traditional use. Young leaves can be cooked like spinach or brewed into tea. The older leaves are tougher, but can still be used to make a soothing, mineral-rich broth. A tea made from plantain can help soothe digestive issues that often accompany metabolic syndrome. Plantain got forgotten because there's little financial incentive to study common weeds. It doesn't fit into a bottle or a pill. But plantain doesn't care about the market. It still offers what it offered for centuries, a cheap, reliable way to support the body's natural resilience. Rural Europeans harvested chickweed every spring as a nutrient-dense green. It appeared in soups, broths, and household remedies. It was often the first fresh green available after a long winter, and it was prized for its ability to rebuild strength. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Chickweed is packed with flavonoids, vitamin C, and other plant compounds that help combat oxidative stress linked to metabolic dysfunction. Oxidative stress is a major culprit in the development of insulin resistance because it damages cells and impairs their ability to respond to insulin. Emerging studies suggest beneficial effects on glucose handling, likely because of its nutrient density. When the body is flooded with micronutrients like zinc and magnesium, which are found in chickweed, it has the raw materials it needs to maintain proper insulin receptor function. Here's the traditional use. Eat fresh in salads or blend into green drinks. It has a delicate flavor that is almost neutral, making it an easy addition to any meal. It's also excellent as a pesto base. Chickweed got forgotten because it grows freely and cannot generate pharmaceutical profits. You can't patent a weed. But chickweed doesn't care about the bottom line. It still offers what it offered for generations, a gentle, nourishing green that supports the body's metabolic engine. Native American communities and traditional European settlers valued lamb's quarters as an important food crop before commercial spinach became dominant. It provided essential nutrition when other foods were scarce, and its seeds were even ground into flour. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Rich in magnesium, fiber, and antioxidants, lamb's quarters supports pathways involved in insulin function. Adequate magnesium intake is consistently associated with better glucose control and lower risk of type 2 diabetes. Magnesium is a cofactor for hundreds of enzymes, including those involved in glucose metabolism. Furthermore, the high fiber content slows sugar absorption, preventing the insulin surges that lead to metabolic chaos. It's essentially a wild version of spinach, but often more robust and with a higher mineral content. Here's the traditional use. Steam the leaves like spinach and harvest before flowering for the most tender texture. The young shoots can also be eaten raw. Lamb's quarters got forgotten because industrial food favored standardized, predictable produce that could be mechanically harvested. It's considered a weed in cornfields, but it doesn't care about the monoculture. It still offers what it offered for centuries: dense, life-giving nutrition that rivals any farmed green. Traditional healers from Eastern Europe to the Middle East used nettles for vitality and blood health. Spring nettle soups were common seasonal foods, believed to purify the blood and renew the body's strength. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Nettle contains a unique array of polyphenols and other compounds that may improve insulin receptor activity. Studies in phytotherapy research have reported favorable effects on blood sugar management, likely due to its anti-inflammatory properties and its ability to influence glucose absorption. Nettle is also packed with iron and vitamin C, which work together to improve oxygen delivery to tissues, enhancing energy production at the cellular level. This translates to better utilization of the food you eat. Here's the traditional use. Cook or dry the leaves to neutralize the sting. Once cooked, it loses its stinging properties and becomes a delicious green, similar to spinach. Nettle tea is a classic tonic. Nettle got forgotten because natural therapies rarely receive major funding. It's not a blockbuster drug, but nettle doesn't require a prescription. It still offers what it offered for hundreds of years: a potent, free tonic for metabolic and blood health. Japanese and European traditions consumed burdock root as both food and medicine. It was valued during periods of limited food availability because of its deep taproot, which could be harvested even in the dead of winter. It was a survival food that became a staple. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Burdock contains high levels of inulin, the same prebiotic fiber found in dandelion, along with lignans that support gut health and insulin sensitivity. The compound in burdock has been compared to some of the most studied blood sugar supporting plant chemicals ever identified because its mechanism of action is so powerful. It doesn't just mask symptoms, it heals the gut environment. Research increasingly links healthy gut bacteria with improved metabolic control. A healthy microbiome produces short-chain fatty acids that act as signaling molecules, telling the body to be more sensitive to insulin and store less fat. Here's the traditional use. Cook the root in soups and stews. It has a mild, earthy flavor that is slightly sweet. You can also pickle it. Burdock got forgotten because processed foods replaced traditional roots. It's too much work for modern convenience. But burdock doesn't need to be flash frozen. It still offers what it offered since ancient times, a deep, restorative prebiotic that rebuilds your metabolic ecosystem from the ground up. European foragers gathered wood sorrel for its refreshing, lemony taste and seasonal nutrition. Children would chew on it for a sour treat, and adults used it in salads to add a bright, zesty note. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Its antioxidants, particularly vitamin C and anthocyanins, help reduce oxidative stress, a major contributor to insulin resistance. The plant-rich diets of our ancestors consistently show metabolic benefits that are now being validated by modern nutritional epidemiology. Wood sorrel contains oxalic acid, which gives it its sour taste, and can interact with calcium absorption, so it's best used in moderation. However, in moderate amounts, it's a powerful source of bioavailable nutrients that wake up the metabolism. Here's the traditional use. Use small amounts fresh in salads as a garnish, or to make a refreshing lemony tea. It's a flavor enhancer. Wood sorrel got forgotten because wild foods disappeared from modern diets. We favor bland, consistent flavors over the vibrant, complex tastes of the forest. But wood sorrel doesn't need to be hybridized. It still offers what it offered for generations, a clean, fresh burst of metabolic support. Ancient Egyptians and later Mediterranean cultures valued mallow as both food and medicine. It was considered a calming, nourishing food that was easy to digest, and its soothing properties were used to treat everything from sore throats to digestive issues. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Mallow contains mucilage, a thick, gel-like fiber that coats the digestive tract. This mucilage may slow glucose absorption, preventing the blood sugar spikes that trigger insulin resistance. It also soothes the gut lining, reducing inflammation. Additionally, it is a source of flavonoids that support the body's ability to manage inflammation, a key driver of metabolic syndrome. Here's the traditional use. Add leaves to soups and broths where the mucilage acts as a natural thickener. You can also eat the young leaves in salads. Mallow got forgotten because quick fix approaches replaced food-based healing. It's soft and delicate, not a commercial crop. But mallow doesn't need to be in a capsule. It still offers what it offered for centuries, a gentle, fiber-rich support system for a stressed digestive and metabolic system. Traditional European herbalists relied on yarrow for digestive and circulatory support. It was known as woundwort in battle and as a digestive tonic at the table. Its bitter taste was a sign of its potency. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Yarrow contains flavonoids and sesquiterpenes, associated with a healthy inflammatory balance, an important factor in insulin sensitivity. Bitter herbs like yarrow stimulate the production of digestive juices, including bile, which helps emulsify fats and process sugars more efficiently. A healthy digestive system is essential for metabolic health. If you can't break down and absorb nutrients, your blood sugar control suffers. Yarrow helps prime the digestive pump. Here's the traditional use. Prepare as tea from properly identified plants. A few drops of yarrow tincture before meals can help repair the digestive system. Yarrow got forgotten because it never fit the pharmaceutical model. It has too many complex actions, but yarrow doesn't need to be simplified. It still offers what it offered for hundreds of years, a bitter, balancing force for digestive and metabolic resilience. If the pattern is becoming clear, that real food grown in real soil does what expensive medications promise, then do me a favor and hit the like button right now. It helps this channel reach people who are searching for answers that actually work, and if you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe and ring the bell. We cover ancestral nutrition, homestead health, and evidence-based natural healing every single week. Now let's finish the list with the most powerful ones. Traditional farmers gathered red clover blossoms throughout Europe for teas and tonics. It was often fed to livestock for its high protein content and used by herbalists for its blood-purifying properties. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Red clover contains isoflavones that support metabolic and vascular health. These phytoestrogens help modulate hormone balance, which can have a significant effect on how the body handles insulin and stores fat, particularly in women going through metabolic changes related to age. These compounds are also potent antioxidants, helping to protect blood vessels from the damaging effects of high blood sugar. Here's the traditional use: dry blossoms and prepare as tea. The blossoms can also be added to pancakes and bread for a mild, sweet flavor and a pop of color. Red clover got forgotten because natural foods cannot be patented. It's free for the picking. But red clover doesn't care about the bottom line. It still offers what it offered for centuries: a gentle, restorative herb for blood health and metabolic stability. European herbal traditions celebrated wild violets as early spring nourishment. They were one of the first edible flowers to emerge, bringing a burst of fresh energy and vitamins after a winter of preserved foods. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. They contain anthocyanins, the pigments that give them their deep purple color, and other powerful antioxidants associated with improved metabolic resilience. Anthocyanins have been shown to reduce inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity by improving the function of endothelial cells that line blood vessels. These compounds help protect the pancreas and other organs from oxidative damage, keeping insulin production efficient. Here's the traditional use. Use flowers and leaves fresh in salads, or make a delicate violet syrup for a sweet treat that still offers metabolic benefits. Violets got forgotten because modern nutrition overlooked wild foods in favor of high-yield crops. They're delicate and don't ship well. But violets don't care about the supply chain. They still offer what they offered for generations: a gentle springtime detox that helps reset the metabolism. Traditional British herbalists harvested cleavers each spring. It was known as the bedstraw because of its clingy nature, and it was used to invigorate the body's natural detoxification systems. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Its plant compounds support healthy fluid balance and overall metabolic function. Cleavers is traditionally used to support the lymphatic system, which is crucial for removing waste products from cellular metabolism. By improving the body's ability to clear cellular waste, you reduce the toxic load that contributes to systemic inflammation and insulin resistance. A clean system runs more efficiently. Here's the traditional use: steep fresh plants into tea. It's a mild, nourishing drink that supports the body's natural cleansing processes. Cleavers got forgotten because it grows too easily to become profitable. It's a pest in the garden. But Cleavers doesn't care about your manicured lawn. It still offers what they offered for centuries: a mild, effective support for the body's waste management system. Used throughout Asia and Europe as both food and medicine, this weed thrived in difficult conditions. It was a symbol of resilience, and people harvested it to bring that strength into their own bodies. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Its flavonoids and minerals contribute to metabolic support and antioxidant protection. It is particularly known for its astringent properties, which help tone tissues and improve digestive function. When the digestive tract is toned and healthy, nutrient absorption improves, and the body is better able to regulate blood glucose levels. Here's the traditional use: harvest young leaves before flowering and add to salads or stir-fries. The tiny heart-shaped seed pods are also edible. Shepherd's purse got forgotten because commercial agriculture had no use for it. It's small and difficult to harvest mechanically. But shepherd's purse doesn't need to be farmed. It still offers what it offered for generations: resilience and metabolic support for the body. European settlers brought garlic mustard with them as a valued culinary herb, and it quickly naturalized. It was prized for its strong, savory flavor that added life to early spring meals. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail: sulfur compounds similar to those found in garlic support healthy glucose metabolism. Sulfur is essential for detoxification pathways in the liver and for the production of glutathione, the body's master antioxidant. These compounds also help stimulate insulin production and sensitivity by reducing inflammation in the pancreas. Here's the traditional use: add young leaves to salads and pestos. It has a potent, spicy kick that makes it a wonderful seasoning. The seeds can also be ground as a mustard substitute. Garlic mustard got forgotten because packaged seasonings replaced wild herbs. It's considered an invasive weed now, but garlic mustard doesn't care about labels. It still offers what it offered for centuries: a spicy, sulfurous boost to your metabolic function. Traditional rural communities dug dock roots as a seasonal food source. The broad leaves were used to wrap food, and the roots were cooked and eaten for nourishment. It's a plant of incredible mineral uptake. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Dock provides fiber, minerals like iron and potassium, and antioxidants that support metabolic health. The root is particularly known for its ability to support liver function. A healthy liver is crucial for blood sugar regulation because it stores and releases glucose as needed. By supporting liver health, doc supports stable blood sugar. Here's the traditional use. Cook roots thoroughly and harvest responsibly. The young leaves can be eaten like spinach, but they are high in oxalic acid, so they should be cooked. Doc got forgotten because processed foods displaced traditional roots. It's a common field weed, but doc doesn't need to be in a vitamin aisle. It still offers what it offered for generations: deep mineral support for metabolic function. Traditional Chinese and European medicine both valued self-heal for overall wellness. It was a versatile remedy known for stopping bleeding and promoting long-term health. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Rosmarinic acid and flavonoids support healthy inflammatory pathways connected to insulin resistance. Rosmarinic acid is a potent compound that acts similarly to anti-inflammatory drugs, but without the side effects. By calming the inflammatory fire that drives insulin resistance, self-heal helps restore the body's ability to respond to its own insulin. Here's the traditional use. Prepare as a tea. It has a mild, pleasant flavor that is easy to drink. Self-heal got forgotten because it never became a commercial commodity. It's too common, but self-heal doesn't care about the stock market. It still offers what it offered for centuries: a powerful, accessible tonic for total metabolic wellness. For centuries, Europeans consumed ground ivy as a seasonal tonic after long winters. It was one of the first greens to emerge, and it was brewed into ale before hops were common, giving it a restorative bitterness. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Its polyphenols contribute antioxidant support that may benefit metabolic health. Ground ivy has a mild diuretic effect, helping the body shed excess water and metabolic waste. By supporting kidney function, ground ivy helps maintain electrolyte balance, which is crucial for insulin receptor activity. Here's the traditional use. Use sparingly in teas. It has a strong, minty flavor that can be overpowering, so a little goes a long way. Ground ivy got forgotten because industrial foods replaced seasonal traditions. It's a ground cover. But ground ivy doesn't care about modern convenience. It still offers what it offered for hundreds of years: a restorative, cleansing tonic that brings the body back to balance. The Aztecs cultivated amaranth as a foundational food long before modern agriculture. It was a sacred grain used in religious ceremonies, and its cultivation was brutally suppressed by the Spanish conquistadors. Today, its wild relatives are considered troublesome weeds in our fields. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Its fiber, protein, and minerals support balanced blood sugar responses. Unlike refined grains, which spike blood sugar, amaranth's complex carbohydrate profile and high protein content provide a slow, steady release of energy. It is also rich in lysine, an amino acid often missing from modern grains. The leaves are a powerhouse of minerals that support insulin function, making the whole plant a balanced metabolic food. Here's the traditional use. Cook leaves or collect seeds. The seeds can be popped like popcorn or cooked as a grain. Wild amaranth got forgotten because large-scale monocultures favored other crops. It competes with corn and soy. But wild amaranth doesn't care about the field. It still offers what it offered since ancient civilizations: a complete, balanced source of nutrition for stable blood sugar. Traditional European foragers welcomed bittercress each spring as one of the first edible greens. It was a sign that winter was over, and its sharp, peppery taste was a wake-up call for the digestive system. Here's what they understood through generations of observation that modern biochemistry has now confirmed in clinical detail. Bitter compounds stimulate digestive processes that influence glucose regulation and metabolic efficiency. The bitter flavor triggers the release of gastrin, a hormone that stimulates the production of stomach acid and digestive enzymes. A well-primed digestive system breaks down carbohydrates more effectively, smoothing out glucose absorption and reducing the burden on the pancreas. Here's the traditional use. Harvest young plants and eat fresh in salads or as a garnish. Its pungent flavor adds a kick to any dish. Bittercress got forgotten because modern diets eliminated most naturally bitter foods. We've been conditioned to crave sweet and bland. But bittercress doesn't care about our taste buds. It still offers what it offered for centuries: a potent, bitter secret to metabolic efficiency. If you made it all the way through, here is your complete framework for integrating these forgotten foods into your life. When you want more fiber and slower glucose absorption, think dandelion, burdock, lamb's quarters, and wild amaranth. These are the foundation of a stable, balanced glycemic response. They provide the bulk that slows down sugar release, preventing the spikes and crashes that ruin insulin sensitivity. When your goal is reducing oxidative stress associated with insulin resistance, Focus on purslane, violets, wood sorrel, and bittercress. These are your antioxidant warriors, fighting the free radicals that age your cells and make them resistant to insulin. For mineral support and overall metabolic resilience, look toward Nettle, Dock, and Plantain. These are the miners, pulling deep minerals from the soil to fuel your enzymatic processes and keep your nervous system calm. And for traditional herbal support that generations trusted, remember Yarrow, Self-Heal, Red Clover, Cleavers, and Shepherd's Purse. These are the adaptogens and tonics, the plants that don't necessarily hit blood sugar directly but support the organs, the liver, kidneys, and gut that regulate it. The larger lesson is simple and profound. The healthiest cultures in history did not separate food from medicine. They gathered seasonal plants, ate what grew locally, and passed that knowledge down through generations. They ate a diverse array of bitter, fiber-rich, and nutrient-dense plants that modern diets have completely abandoned. Modern science has not replaced that wisdom. In many cases, it has validated it. We know now that these plants contain polyphenols, flavonoids, prebiotics, and minerals that work synergistically to keep us healthy. We're just rediscovering what our ancestors already knew. Smash that like button if this changed the way you look at backyard weeds. Drop a comment below and tell me which plant surprised you most. Are you Team Dandelion, Team Purslane, or Team Nettle? I read every single comment. And if you haven't subscribed to Homestead Roots yet, click that button now and ring the bell. We post every week, and we are just getting started. Because the most powerful nutrition doesn't come in a prescription. It doesn't come in a pill. It was eaten by the healthiest people who ever lived. And now you know exactly which plants to grow, forage, and prepare. Step outside, take a look at the ground beneath your feet, and reclaim your health.